There's a moment in every pursuit, romantic, social, or professional, where the dynamic shifts. You feel it like a hairline crack in glass, tiny, silent, inevitable. You give, you prove, you show up, and then the room grows cold. Your presence fades into background noise. Your kindness is met with convenience. That's when the questions sharpen. Are you connecting, or just granting access? Are you being loyal, or merely afraid of being forgotten? The Stoics knew this ache. Stepping back isn't cruelty, it's clarity. Choosing yourself isn't withdrawal, it's wisdom. Silence is not the absence of love, it's the presence of self-respect. When you stop chasing, the story stops owning you. Your stillness becomes a mirror, and what they see there is not your lack, it's their imbalance. If these words land heavy, it's because you're ready. Start this journey now. Like and subscribe to Stoic Silence and reclaim your attention as a sacred currency. I read every comment. Your voice matters here. Drop a 1 if today you choose calm distance over chasing. Drop a 2 if you're on the edge, one message away from breaking your own boundary. Tell me why. I'm listening. Keep watching. Next, we open the door to the silent shift itself. The moment your absence begins to speak louder than any apology they'll never send. 1. The illusion of connection. At first, you believed that love was something you could build through effort. You reached out first, showed up fully, gave without hesitation, convinced that consistency would prove your worth. But the more you gave, the less you were seen. The louder you spoke, the quieter their response became. That's when you begin to understand a deeper truth. Love that must be earned isn't love at all. It's validation disguised as connection. You start to realize that effort without balance turns affection into dependency and noise into emptiness. As Epictetus said, we suffer not from events, but from our judgments about them. And perhaps the cruelest judgment of all is believing that you must perform to be valued. Real connection begins when silence replaces the need to prove. 2. The weight of availability. You were always there, a text away, a call away, a steady presence that never wavered. At first it felt like strength, like devotion, but over time you learned that what's always available becomes invisible. People stop valuing what they never have to earn. Predictability dulls appreciation. So you step back, not from bitterness, but from wisdom. You realize that silence teaches where words fail, and distance reveals what closeness once concealed. Your absence becomes a mirror reflecting their entitlement, a quiet reminder that value exists only where scarcity lives. You're not withdrawing to punish, you're restoring balance. Because when your availability becomes rare, your presence becomes meaningful again, and that's when respect returns. 3. The false power of reaction. Every reaction drains your energy and feeds their control. They provoke you not to understand, but to dominate the narrative. Each explanation becomes a leash that pulls you back into chaos, but the moment you choose silence, everything changes. You interrupt their pattern, dismantle their illusion of power, and reveal your strength through calmness. Stillness becomes your shield, and composure your quiet form of rebellion. As Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." True freedom begins when you stop reacting to what doesn't deserve your peace, and in that restraint, you reclaim everything they once used to define you. 4. The modern trap of noise. We live in an age that worships expression. Everywhere you turn, the world shouts, "Speak your truth." Don't stay silent, but in the pursuit of being heard, many forget the art of restraint. True Stoicism doesn't demand constant speech. It demands mastery of what truly deserves your voice. Not every battle requires a response. Not every insult requires defense. The man who learns to hold his tongue commands not just his words, but his destiny. When you stop feeding chaos with endless explanations, you take away its oxygen. You strip away the power of those who thrive on your reactions. Silence, then, is not weakness. It's precision. It's the discipline to preserve peace instead of proving a point. Because sometimes the most eloquent statement you can make is the one you never speak. And in that stillness, your presence says everything they need to hear. 5. The shift of energy. There comes a moment when you stop chasing what drains you and start feeding what builds you. The energy once wasted on overthinking, waiting, and proving now flows into your own growth. You begin reading again, training again, sleeping with peace instead of worry. Your silence stops being an absence, it becomes transformation. The same quiet that once confused them now commands attention. They can feel the difference, even if they can't explain it. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike the one who wronged you." Silence, then, isn't a wall, it's a doorway to evolution, because nothing is louder than a man who grows in peace while the world still waits for his reaction. 6. The inner withdrawal. The greatest battle is never with them, it's within yourself. One voice begs you to reach out, to fix what feels broken, to believe that maybe they'll change. But another quieter voice reminds you of a deeper truth. Peace always demands distance. The ache you feel when you resist the urge to chase isn't weakness, it's healing. That tension inside you is detachment, untangling the knots of dependency. It's not loss, it's liberation. You're not rejecting love, you're rejecting chaos disguised as love. You're choosing calm over confusion, clarity over craving. In that silence, you begin to remember who you were before the noise. You learn that solitude isn't punishment, it's restoration. And as you settle into that stillness, something remarkable happens. What once felt like emptiness becomes space for rebirth. Because stillness becomes strength the moment you stop fearing solitude, and in that quiet, you finally find yourself again. 7. The Mirror of Stillness. Silence is not empty, it's reflective. When you stop speaking, something powerful begins to echo back. Your stillness becomes a mirror, forcing them to face the image they once refused to see. Every unanswered message, every ignored call, every cold reply they once gave you now stands before them, reversed. What they once dismissed now haunts them in the quiet. The absence of your voice becomes the loudest sound in their mind. And that's when the shift begins. The moment they realize the silence they once took for granted now belongs to someone who has outgrown them. But here's the truth. You're not silent to punish. You're silent to preserve. You've reached a point where peace means more than closure, where explaining yourself feels like breaking your own boundaries. You no longer crave understanding because you've understood enough. Your silence is the closure. It's the invisible line that separates chaos from clarity, reaction from self-control. When you step back into stillness, you strip them of the power they once had over your emotions. They no longer get to decide your worth through their validation or rejection. This is what unsettles them, not your absence, but your indifference. They expected anger, confrontation, something to fight against. They can prepare for words, but they can't defend against silence. Silence forces them to look inward, to face the parts of themselves they tried to drown out with noise. It confronts them with the reality they created, the distance, the imbalance, the quiet consequence of their own actions. That's the essence of karmic reflection. Not revenge, but realization. What makes the mirror of stillness so uncomfortable is that it doesn't accuse, it reveals. There's no argument to win, no defense to prepare, only the truth staring back at them through the void you've left. They begin to replay everything they said, everything they did, trying to make sense of when exactly your tone changed, when your patience thinned, when your heart went quiet. They scroll through old conversations, rereading words they once ignored. They look for meaning in the smallest signs, a seen message, an untouched memory, a moment of calm that feels heavier than any confrontation. But by then, it's too late, because your silence has shifted from reaction to revelation. You've stopped being the one waiting and have become the one watching. The mirror no longer reflects weakness, it reflects growth. You're no longer the one begging to be understood. You're the one observing from peace. That's the quiet victory they never saw coming. Stillness exposes imbalance. It reveals how much noise they needed to feel in control and how much calm you needed to finally feel free. What used to be emotional chaos has become emotional clarity. You've realized that not every connection deserves resurrection, and not every ending needs words. The most powerful endings are the ones that happen in silence, the ones where you simply stop showing up, stop explaining, stop negotiating your worth. They start to wonder, did I lose something real? But the truth is, they didn't lose you. They lost the version of themselves that only existed when you kept giving, forgiving, and explaining. Your peace no longer includes them, and that realization cuts deeper than anger ever could, because anger still means you care. Silence means you've made peace with walking away. So when they finally look into the mirror your silence holds, they won't just see you, they'll see themselves. The unfiltered reflection of who they were when they thought your loyalty was permanent. And that's the lesson stillness teaches better than any argument. When your peace no longer depends on their presence, they lose the power to disturb it. In a world addicted to reaction, choosing calm is the ultimate rebellion. It's the quiet revolution of a man who no longer needs to be heard to be understood. Your silence becomes your shield, your boundary, your proof of growth. And while they wrestle with regret in the noise of their own conscience, you walk forward, steady, composed, untouchable. Because in the end, the mirror doesn't lie. It simply reflects what was always there. And the reflection left behind by your silence will say what words never could. You've outgrown the need to be seen by those who never truly looked. 8. The return of self-respect. There's a quiet kind of power that begins to rise in you every time you choose silence over reaction. It doesn't happen all at once. It builds slowly, like muscle formed through discipline. Every time you resist the urge to explain, to chase, to demand acknowledgement, you take back a piece of yourself. Your dignity returns, your focus sharpens, your direction realigns. What once felt like losing control is actually the process of regaining it. You begin to understand that your attention, your energy, your time, these are currencies of immeasurable worth. And for too long, you've been spending them recklessly on someone who never invested back. The moment that realization sinks in, something shifts inside you. You stop looking outward for validation and start investing inward. You turn your focus toward what actually builds you, your purpose, your craft, your balance. You trade the chaos of uncertainty for the peace of discipline. The same silence that once felt heavy now feels sacred. It becomes a signal to your own soul that you are done negotiating your worth. You no longer seek to be understood. You seek to understand yourself. And in that clarity, you find a deeper strength than approval could ever give. The world will tell you to fight for validation, to speak louder, to make them see your value. But Stoicism teaches something different. It teaches restraint. It reminds you that what's truly powerful never begs to be noticed. The oak tree doesn't shout to prove its strength. It stands firm and lets time reveal its endurance. That's what you're becoming. A man so grounded in purpose that he doesn't need to be seen to know his value. You stop chasing attention because you finally see it for what it is, a cheap substitute for self-respect. You start waking up earlier, taking care of your body, mastering your emotions, setting goals that pull you forward. You no longer crave recognition, you crave consistency. You no longer want to be remembered by someone else. You want to be proud of yourself. And then something beautiful happens. People start to notice. The same ones who once ignored your presence begin to feel the weight of your absence. They sense the difference but can't name it. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. It's the quiet authority of someone who has nothing to prove and everything to build. You don't beg to be seen anymore because you've become visible through your growth. Silence isn't emptiness. It's the sound of self-worth returning home. It's the voice of your higher self reminding you that you were never unworthy, only unfocused. Every time you stay silent, you reinforce that truth. You teach the world how to treat you, not through arguments, but through example. Because respect isn't demanded, it's demonstrated. And the more you live in that stillness, the more your energy speaks for you. So let them wonder why you stopped explaining. Let them guess why you don't respond, why your peace feels untouchable. The answer is simple. You've remembered who you are. And when a man remembers his worth, the noise of the world no longer has power over him. 9. The Stoic Realization. There comes a moment when silence no longer feels like withdrawal but arrival. You stop fighting to be heard, stop trying to justify your worth, stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. That's when something profound happens, a quiet shift within. The noise in your mind begins to fade, and for the first time in a long time, you can hear your own thoughts again. It's not weakness, it's awakening. You start to realize that peace was never found in convincing others. It was always found in understanding yourself. You used to think that closure came through clarity from someone else, through the perfect conversation, the right apology, the acknowledgement that never came. But as you detach, you begin to see the truth. Closure doesn't come from answers, it comes from acceptance, from the realization that not everything broken needs to be repaired, and not everyone lost needs to return. The moment you stop explaining, you stop needing the world to validate your story. You realize you are no longer here to win arguments, you are here to win peace. The world teaches you to fight, to defend, to keep proving your side. But Stoicism whispers a different lesson, that mastery is not about control, but surrender, not to others, but to the present moment. When you stop reacting to what you can't control, you start to reclaim what you can. And what you can always control is your mind, your focus, your response. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." At first, it sounds like philosophy, but once you live it, you realize it's the foundation of freedom. The silence that once felt cold now becomes sacred. It's no longer the absence of connection, but the presence of clarity. You begin to see how much energy you used to spend trying to be understood by people who were never listening. How many nights you lost replaying conversations in your mind, crafting explanations for those who had already decided what to believe. You start to see how often you mistook reaction for communication, how often you mistook noise for connection. And as that realization deepens, your energy begins to return to you, slowly, powerfully, quietly. There's a particular kind of strength that grows in stillness. It's not loud, not dramatic, but steady and grounded. You begin to move differently, not out of fear or pride, but out of peace. The man who once over-explained now simply smiles. The one who once begged for understanding now chooses silence, because he finally understands. Peace is not something you receive from others. It's something you decide to keep for yourself. And when you stop chasing validation, your presence becomes magnetic. People feel your energy without you saying a word. They sense the calm, the confidence, the quiet discipline of someone who no longer seeks approval to exist. This is the heart of Stoic realization, understanding that control doesn't mean manipulation, it means mastery of self. It's realizing that happiness doesn't come from perfect circumstances, but from the ability to remain centered no matter the storm. You learn that silence is not the absence of emotion, it's the regulation of it. That it takes far more strength to hold your tongue than to release your frustration. That stillness is not avoidance, it's awareness. You are not running from confrontation. You are choosing which battles deserve your peace. The man you were, restless, reactive, desperate to be seen, begins to dissolve, and in his place stands a man of presence, of principle, of quiet power. You begin to enjoy your own company again. You wake up with intention, not anxiety. You listen more, speak less, and act only when necessary. You learn that emotional control is not about suppression, but direction, choosing to channel pain into progress, heartbreak into growth, disappointment into wisdom. You no longer fear silence because you've realized it's where your true strength lives. The irony is that the world around you will start to notice. The same people who once dismissed your voice will now be drawn to your calm. They'll sense the shift but won't understand it. They'll try to engage you the old way, provoke you, test you, pull you back into the noise. But this time you won't bite, because you've learned that not every reaction deserves an audience. You've discovered that silence dismantles the manipulative faster than confrontation ever could. People can argue with your words, but not with your stillness. Stillness exposes truth. It reveals who is loud out of guilt and who is quiet out of peace. And here's what makes it powerful. Silence doesn't just protect your energy, it amplifies your presence. You no longer need to announce your worth, because your discipline speaks louder than your voice ever could. The way you carry yourself, the choices you make, the peace you project, all of it becomes your message. You no longer prove, you embody. You no longer chase, you attract. When you stop explaining, you stop living in reaction and start living in alignment. You start to understand that people who truly see you don't need convincing, and those who don't never will. That realization is liberating. It frees you from the endless cycle of proving and performing. It allows you to live in the truth that your value doesn't decrease because someone failed to see it. It was never theirs to measure. The silence that once felt like exile now feels like home. It's where you meet yourself again, the version of you before the world demanded justification for your peace. And as you sit in that calm, you finally grasp what Marcus Aurelius meant. You understand that the mind, once disciplined, becomes the greatest fortress. You learn that serenity is not found in external approval, but in internal order. You're no longer proving, you're becoming someone who values inner strength over outer validation. Someone who doesn't chase storms, but walks through them unshaken. Someone who no longer fears being misunderstood, because he understands himself deeply. And in that state, silence stops being an act. It becomes your nature. The kind of silence that commands respect without demand, presence without noise, power without dominance. This is the Stoic realization that peace is not passive. It's earned through discipline, forged in restraint, and maintained by choice. It's not something that finds you, it's something you become. You stop trying to be the loudest in the room and instead become the calmest. Because when you have control over your mind, the world loses its power over you. And that is the quietest, strongest form of freedom there is. 10. The power shift. There comes a time when the balance quietly changes, when the same silence that once felt heavy now carries power. The tables turn, but not in the way they imagine. They may begin to reach out, sending messages that feel casual but are weighted with curiosity. "Hey, how have you been? I was just thinking of you." Small openings disguised as care, but driven by uncertainty. What they really want to know is simple. Do they still matter to you? Is your silence a pause, or is it permanent? But you're no longer waiting behind that door. The difference now is that you've stopped waiting for them to open it. You've already walked through another one, the one that leads back to yourself. You've moved on, not away, but inward. You've built a kind of peace that no longer depends on response or recognition. You don't replay old conversations. You don't scroll through old memories. You've outgrown the version of yourself that believed closure had to come from someone else. Now, your silence speaks for you. It's not coldness, it's self-respect. It's the quiet truth that you no longer need to be understood to be free. Every unanswered message, every unreturned call, every moment you choose peace over reaction reinforces a new kind of strength. The kind that doesn't need validation to feel real. They'll feel it before they admit it. The weight of your calm will hit harder than any confrontation ever could, because silence dismantles ego. It leaves the mind restless, turning questions into regrets, curiosity into confusion. They start to wonder when you changed, when your tone softened into indifference, when your attention became something rare. They may pretend they don't care, but their attempts to reappear tell the story their pride won't say aloud. They're not reaching out because they miss who you are now. They miss who they were when your attention made them feel significant. That's the hidden truth of the power shift. Your silence doesn't just unsettle them. It reveals what they truly valued. It was never just you. It was how they felt in your light. But you've learned something they haven't, that you don't need to keep giving energy to those who only noticed it when it disappeared. Your silence has become your filter. It keeps chaos out and clarity in. You no longer chase closure, you embody it. You no longer argue to be understood. You speak only when necessary. And because of that, your words now carry weight. Your energy, once scattered, is now concentrated. That's the paradox. They once mistook your presence for weakness, and now your absence defines their unease. This is where true transformation begins. You stop reacting from emotion and start moving from principle. You don't stay silent to prove a point. You stay silent to protect your peace. You've learned that the person who needs to speak the most often has the least control. So, you practice restraint. You master the pause. You let time expose what words never could, and in that pause, you grow. Every day you choose not to engage, you gain strength. Every time you resist the urge to explain, you reinforce discipline. The silence that once felt like losing has become your greatest weapon. Not against them, but against the version of yourself that couldn't let go. The man you are now doesn't seek control, he seeks composure. He doesn't demand attention, he commands it naturally through presence. Your silence is not a retreat, it's a declaration of sovereignty. It's how you say without words, "I no longer give my peace away." You've realized that peace isn't passive, it's a stance, a boundary, a lifestyle. You no longer chase outcomes because you've accepted the truth Stoicism teaches. The only thing you control is yourself. And once you master that, no one can take your calm away. When you stop needing to be understood, you become untouchable. Their confusion becomes your clarity. Their noise becomes background to your focus. The power they once held over your emotions dissolves the moment you refuse to explain yourself. That's the shift. They lose control the second you stop reacting, because reaction is fuel and you've stopped giving them fire. Your calm disarms them, your silence exposes them, and your stillness, once misread as indifference, becomes the loudest statement of strength they'll ever hear. They'll try to reopen the door, but they'll find it leads to a different version of you, one who no longer explains, apologizes, or justifies his boundaries. The old you needed them to understand. The new you simply doesn't. You've learned to listen more and speak less, to observe before responding, to walk away not in anger, but in authority. You've realized that sometimes the greatest act of power is to remain unmoved when everything tries to shake you. That's what they can't handle, the fact that you're no longer emotionally available to play the same game. You've become grounded, unbothered, consistent. And in a world addicted to reaction, that calm is revolutionary. You've reclaimed the space between action and reaction, the space where freedom lives. That's where you now stand, rooted, steady, sovereign. They can knock, they can wonder, they can even regret, but none of it moves you anymore, because your peace has become more valuable than their approval, and your silence speaks louder than their words ever could. This is the true power shift, not when they come back, but when you no longer care if they do. The shift happens when you realize that your peace is no longer negotiable, that your energy is no longer free, and that your silence isn't absence, it's alignment. You no longer need closure from them because you've found closure in yourself, and that's what terrifies them the most. Not that you're gone, but that you're better. Not that you're silent, but that you're calm. Peace is louder than any apology, because apologies can be faked, but stillness cannot. You can't pretend to be at peace. It's felt, not performed, and that's what sets you apart. You've mastered what most never will. The ability to stay centered when others expect you to collapse. The ability to remain unmoved when provoked. The ability to walk away without leaving chaos behind. In the end, silence becomes your language, calmness your armor, and dignity your compass. You're no longer driven by who left, but by who you're becoming. You've learned that control isn't about holding on, it's about letting go with grace. You've learned that sometimes the greatest statement of strength is to say nothing at all. And as you walk forward, you finally understand the truth that Stoicism has been teaching for centuries. The man who walks away with calmness is the one who truly wins, because the world loses its grip on the man who no longer reacts to it. You don't need to raise your voice, defend your worth, or prove your peace. You've already done the hardest thing a person can do. You've learned to stand in silence and still command respect. That's not detachment from life. It's mastery of it. So let them reach out. Let them wonder. Let them feel the absence of the energy they once took for granted. You don't need to prove that you've changed. Your silence has already done that. And the next time they knock, they'll realize the truth. The door they're trying to open no longer leads to you. It leads to the man you became in their silence. Listen, brother, this isn't about her. It's about you. You lost peace the moment you started proving your worth to someone who stopped earning it. Modern men confuse effort with value, thinking love must be chased to be real. It doesn't. Every time you explain, react, or beg to be understood, you hand over your power. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. It teaches value through absence, restores balance, and commands respect without words. When you stop reacting, you stop bleeding energy. You stop needing closure because peace becomes your closure. Remember this. Love that must be earned isn't love. Calm isn't indifference. It's control. And the man who stays silent when provoked is the one who truly holds the power. If what you've just heard feels uncomfortably familiar, it's because somewhere deep down, you know it's true. You've seen these signs, the imbalance, the noise, the moments when your silence spoke louder than any explanation ever could. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you're there right now. But understand this. Your calm is not weakness. It's the birth of control. The moment you stop needing to be understood is the moment you become untouchable. So I'll ask you, have you seen these signs in your own story? Have you felt that quiet shift inside when you finally stopped chasing and started choosing peace? Drop your thoughts below and share your truth, because your journey might just guide another man back to himself. And if this message spoke to you, if you're ready to rebuild your power through stillness, subscribe to Stoic Silence. Because here, we don't chase validation, we master detachment. We don't shout for respect, we earn it through calm. Stay disciplined, stay grounded, and remember, your silence is your power.